Hello and welcome viewers, I am Neem. If you're aware of who I am, you already know that I love Dark Souls. If you didn't know that, now you do. If you know me really well, then you can tell some of my favorite videos on YouTube involve people doing wacky challenges in video games. So I figured I'd dip my toes in the water and try it out myself. In this video, I aim to beat Dark Souls 3 main game, maybe even the DLC later, using only a GREATBOW. This video is inspired by these two YouTubers, Mr. Metacross and the Backlogs. Make sure you check out their content when you are done with this video. They're quite entertaining and insane people. First, let's establish the rules. Rule number 1, I must only use the GREATBOW to deal damage. I cannot deal damage through the use of consumables or any other weapon. However, consumables like the Alluring Skull that don't do damage and don't really directly affect enemies can be used. And I won't be narrating every part. Some parts I will just show in their entirety, and I apologize in advance for the less optimal recording quality. Without further ado, enjoy. Typically, you cannot get the GREATBOW this early in the game, and even if you were able to, you wouldn't have the stats for it. Lucky me, I know a super, totally, and legit way to get past this by using immense skill and brain power. It's called Cheat Engine. After I acquired the GREATBOW, I made my way towards Gundyr, where we quickly find out why this run might be difficult later down the line. The damage is fine, great actually. The draw speed is the issue. The weapon requires Twinkly and Titanite to upgrade, which isn't bad by any means, but it means our weapon can only go to +5, and the scaling is less than favorable, but it'll do. You'll notice that most of the challenge from bosses will be finding openings within their attacks later in the video, and my own patience. After a couple minutes, Udex Gundyr goes down, and quite literally, look at how cool this kill is.
First, I think I'm getting just more headshots. Airshot? Oh, killed in the air. That was stylish.
There really wasn't much to do in Firelink Shrine and High Wall of Lothar, so I basically just ran straight to Vort. Vort was a bit more challenging than Gundyr, but only by a slight margin. We're still in the early game, so the bow does some pretty hefty damage to the bosses, but I have a feeling that the damage may drop off pretty soon. The best thing about Vort is that he is a slower boss, which means there are more opportunities for us to attack. I didn't really think he was much of a problem until his second phase, but even then, I still won the first try. Just bait his dash into his breath attack, and it's a pretty easy fight. After beating Vort, I did a little bit of cleaning up. I leveled up my health a bit, bought a Prism Stone to exchange for Twinkling Titanite, got the Covenant Silver Serpent Ring, and upgraded my Estus. Did you know that in order to upgrade your Estus you need both of the flasks? I didn't until this run, because I somehow forgot to pick up the Ashen Estus. After the cleanup, I got the flag from the hag and attempted to fight the dancer. I lost, then made my way to the undead settlement. I must say I won't go into detail about most areas unless I pick up something important. I'd love to go into detail, but my experience with these areas mostly consists of me running past all the enemies to get to the boss, or to get an item I want. I decided to prep a little bit before I fight Balls Man. I had lit the bonfire under the bridge, got some headshots better the COD montage, and made my way up to the tower to commit the worst sin you could in this game, killing Giant Man. I absolutely did not want to do this, but unfortunately, he has a ring that is required for any run with a bow. The Hawk Ring. The Hawk Ring increases how far our arrows can be shot, which is very useful for situations and where we need to stay far away from the boss or snipe a certain enemy. Your blood might be on my hands, Giant Man, but you will not be forgotten. I then go help Onion Man kill Demon Man, so I can get access to Flynn's ring, which increases our damage, and the Chlorothy ring, which increases our stamina recovery. Both of which are very important. The more damage we do, the better, and we need all the stamina recovery we can get, because one shot from the arrow drains all of our stamina. Most importantly though, we require a Lucatil set, and it fits me pretty well I think. After acquiring precious loot, I attempt to fight Ball's man. I quickly dispatch of all his goons, and then begin the fight with him. It takes 3 shots to get rid of his first ball clump, and 1 shot for the smaller one. I don't know if there's something in the code that activated this boss's chakra, but he was oddly aggressive. As shameful as it may be, I died. The second attempt, however, went swimmingly. His aggression was still really odd though, and I never knew he had this roll attack. Despite all this, I beat him. He doesn't really give us anything useful, there isn't really anything we can get from boss souls in this run, but hey, the extra souls do help. There wasn't much to do in Road of Sacrifices, so I made my way straight to the Crystal Sage. To be honest, I was worried about the Crystal Sage. She has ranged magic, which can easily counter my build, and there's the added clones in her second phase. My worries were diminished quickly though, for I found the ultimate strat of just standing there. I stood behind this rubble the whole fight, and while I did get close to death a couple times, the fight went pretty well. It was oddly satisfying, standing in the safe corner shooting her from afar. So far, all of the bosses have been easy though, which is surprising, honestly. After killing the Crystal Sage, I upgraded my bow and my Estus once or twice, and then I suffered through the average fair and keep run, grabbing a twinkling titanite along the way.
All will be... Oh no! No!
Okay.
Please! 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 Oh god, please! Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh my controller disconnected, oh hell! Oh hell! Oh hell! Damn it!
And came across the first real challenge of this run, the Abyss Watchers. From the moment I started this run, I was afraid of these guys, and here's why. The Abyss Watchers are A, very agile, and B, they have very few openings compared to the other bosses we've fought previously. Their attacks can easily close the distance between me and them, and they can hyper armor through some of our shots. This didn't happen too often, but when it did, it put me in a pretty bad position. Needless to say, I died on my first attempt, and even my second, but you know what they say, third time's the charm. I managed to start off the fight with a lot of hits from my GREATBOW, bringing the Abyss Watcher to almost half, just barely into his fight. Once the second Watcher appears, there isn't much I can do. All I can do is run around for a bit until the Red Eye Watcher appeared. Now this begs the question, is the Red Eye Watcher not allowed? My answer is no, he's fine. He didn't really do much in this fight anyway, and it isn't like I left him to do all the work for me. So I think the 2 hits he did to the main Watcher doesn't count against the rules. I shoot the Watcher a few times and then he enters his second phase. I immediately got jump scared because he spawned right next to me, and there were a few close calls. His tracking flame proved to be very dangerous against my range build, but in the end I remained victorious, killing him as he jumped in the air towards me, similar to Vord.
I can get him. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, we're so close. Perfect. Yes! Even when he jumped! Even when he jumped! That was so cool! Woo!
Hey, so footage for the Catacombs up to Pontiff corrupted, so I can't show any of that at all. I've tried to recover it, but it's just not possible for me. So I'm just going to keep it short. None of these bosses pose a significant threat. I upgraded my weapon once or twice, and that's really it. So now we're just going to move on with the rest of the run. I'm very sorry for this inconvenience. On Orlando, like the areas before it, was not anything special. The Bang Bros, well, one decided to kill himself because he didn't feel like getting penetrated today. I'm sorry. And I finally got a taste of my own medicine from the archers here. After making quick use of them, I faced the ultimate archer, Aldrich. This is quite possibly the hardest Aldrich fight I have had in a long time. Aldrich can cast a variety of spells, and all of them seamlessly activate instantly. Aldrich was basically the perfect counter to my build. Quick, high damage attacks plus magic while you have a slow ranged wind-up does not pair well, let me tell you. Aldrich also heavily favored his arrow attack. I swear after every other attack he just kept using the damn thing. I suppose it's fitting though. Aldrich gave me a really difficult time, but I managed to kill him with one Estus to spare. Pretty nice, pretty nice. After killing Aldrich, I gave the Dancer of the Boreal Valley a couple tries, and I didn't do very well, so I just went through the prison, not gathering much other than getting the Yorm's bonfire. I made my way back to the Dancer, and she was another tricky one. Dancer was the first boss to really test my ability of finding openings. Almost all of her attacks consisted of high damage and long sweeps that could close the distance between her and I very easily. The damage at this point in the game is still good, so I don't have to worry about that, but bosses are getting much more nimble, which is a huge trouble for me. Really, all I could do for this fight was just stay back and hope that she doesn't use one of her long follow-ups. It didn't help that my arrows would miss her occasionally due to how slim she is. Dancer took the most attempt out of any boss thus far. A surprise, but a welcome one. Cyrus was pretty much the same as the Dancer. This fight was the first fight that almost depleted my whole arrow stock. Due to his spastic nature, I kept missing shot after shot. I got him stuck on one of the branches in his fight, which allowed me to get a couple free hits, but was super inconsistent. Not much happened. All I can really say is I barely scraped by with a stock of 5 arrows. I gave Gunder but Cooler a try and said nah once he killed me, upgrading my weapon to +4, then I ventured off to the profane capital to take on Yorm the Giant. Okay, let me be frank, I'm not doing this with only the GREATBOW. Call it cheating or whatever you want, I just don't have the time nor patience to do so. And looking at my damage output, I think even if I bought a stack of 50 for each arrow, that wouldn't even kill him. So I killed him normally, then made my way to Lothar Castle. The enemies here were a pain, so I just decided to kill the dragons patiently with our bow. Then we hit our first brick wall. The Dragon Slayer armor, while being one of my favorite bosses in Dark Souls 3 and one of the most underrated in Dark Souls 3 in my opinion, he sucks. He is truly the perfect counter to my build. High damaging attacks that come out in an instant, a giant shield that blocks all damage, options to close the gap between he and I, and a soul that just won't quit. I gave him a fair bit of tries, but decided that I needed to increase my stats a bit more before I am ready. First boss on the checklist is Champion Gundyr. Champion Gundyr. Ooh boy, this guy was a doozy. Champion Gundyr didn't take me as many tries as I thought he would, but it still took a good bit. The start of his fight was an easy way to get 3 to 4 hits on him with a GREATBOW, but after that it's all patience and skill, both of which I lack to a degree. There are very few openings for his fight that are 100% safe. Most of this fight consisted of me and him trading hits with one another due to the insane in-lag of the bow. Basically, your typical Elden Ring boss fight. His first phase isn't much of an issue because he mostly walks towards me, but in his second phase he miraculously learns the ability to run like a triathlete. It makes it almost impossible to find an opening without getting hit. A couple of his slams are safe, and there's this one sweeping attack to end one of his combos that was more often than not safe, but that was really it. Gundyr was incredibly tricky to get down. To be quite frank, it mostly came to me being lucky. After about 5 or so attempts, I finally vanquished Gundyr, and that was via headshot too. For some extra cash, I killed the dragon, then upgraded my GREATBOW to its final level. After that, I faced the Dragon Slayer armor, and it went much better. I think the reason why I kept dying was because of my health pool, but after investing some more levels, I made this guy quick work. There were a lot more openings than I thought, especially in his second phase. With all the charging attacks, I was able to hit him pretty frequently at a safe enough distance. The skeleton bone things throwing up magic was a slight hindrance, but nothing more than that. We just broke this brick wall like a level 6 wall breaker, but we're heading into another one. Okay, it's time for the boss I was dreading this whole run, Lothar and Lorian. Okay, these brothers are typically really easy in a standard run. On average, I could probably beat them in less than 2 minutes. But this run really proved that with the wrong setup, they can be quite formidable. Lorian has the ability to teleport, which honestly didn't affect the fight that much. I was worried that he would teleport away from my arrows constantly, but it actually wasn't that case. In fact, Lorian barely teleported in all of my fights with him. What worried me the most though was my arrow count. Lothar and Lorian have 2 phases. Phase number 1 is Lorian, and that phase didn't give me any trouble. Second phase, Lothar joins Lorian, riding his back casting spells. The spells aren't any trouble either, but this is where I began to worry if this boss was even possible. There are 0 openings to hit Lothar while Lorian is alive. Believe me, I tried everything I could, there is nothing. So how do I go about hitting Lothar? By killing Lorian. Every single time. This process was very time consuming, and my anxiety only spiked as my arrow count was getting lower and his health was still pretty high. Headshots were crucial to killing him. Almost every shot would have to be a headshot for me to even have the chance at killing Lothar. What makes this so hard wasn't aiming. In fact, it was that my arrows would just not hit Lothar sometimes. No, seriously, I would hit Lorian's head at the correct distance, and my arrow would just phase through him. And this happened so many times I can't even begin to count. To remedy this, I bought a couple stacks of Oni Slayer arrows, and thank the heavens that I did, because without them, this fight would actually be impossible. Even if I managed to get a headshot with every arrow at the max damage possible, this fight would be impossible if it wasn't for an extra set of arrows. I simply would not have enough arrows to kill these brothers, but thankfully, I did. After about an hour, I finally took these princes down, and it was time to move on to our final opponent. Sadly, I wish there was more to say about the Soul of Cinder. After the hurdle that was the twin princes, the Soul of Cinder was nothing compared to them. Sure, he did put up a fight, and I did get super close to dying by the end of his fight, but it was mostly due to the lack of my patience than anything. Each weapon transformation was just as easy as the rest. His second phase was a lot more challenging, bringing me down to 1 hit near the end of the fight, but I still beat him my first try. Kind of a disappointing way to end the run, honestly, but I think Lothar and Lorian make up for the Soul of Cinder being so easy. All in all, this run was incredibly fun. Even though it wasn't much of a challenge, I still enjoyed it a lot, and I think that's the most important part of a challenge run, making it fun. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I thank you so much for watching. This was an absolute blast to make and super satisfying too. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing and liking the video. It really helps out small channels like mine, and it motivates me to make more videos like this. And I want to say once again, this video is made because of Mr. Metagross and the backlogs. Without inspiration from them, I probably wouldn't have made this video. And if you're wondering, where are the DLC bosses? Well, I plan on making it its own videos sometime. If there's anything that you want to point out, make sure you leave a comment and tell me what other challenge run videos you'd like to see. I'm more than happy to hear them. Thank you everyone. This is Neem. Have a good day.